To order at this time, and we'll start off with the invitation, right?
A retired teacher of mine, friend of mine, had a subject, and she asked the students, what are the 7 wonders of the world? Do any of you know? No one knows what the 7 wonders of the world is? Come on, tell me.
Great Wall of China.
A what?
Great Wall of China.
Okay, that's one.
Grand Canyon.
I didn't hear you, but that's all right.
Hanging Garden.
Okay. Well, anyway, the students put it down on their paper, and then the teacher noticed that there was one particular shy student, and so she went over to the young student and said, "Is everything all right?" And the student says, "Well, I don't have those answers." And the teacher looked at the student's paper and said, And the young girl, her 7 wonders of the world was touch, taste, see, hear, laugh, feel, and love. Heavenly Father, thanks for this day, the sun, and all of us that are gathered here. Guide us as we look at the opportunities for today and tomorrow and the future. And thanks, Lord, for those wonderful words that the young girl said. Amen.
Okay, we're gonna forego the roll call because the roster is going around. And if you're an area rep and you have not had the opportunity to get your name on that roster, put your hand up and we'll get that form to you. Yes, Bridget?
I've got it.
Okay. Now we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is the minutes of the July meeting, if you can remember that far back. So,
I move to approve the minutes of the July 5th.
okay,
21 minutes.
Ray Hiltz makes a motion to approve.
Second.
Linda Pearson seconds the motion. Any discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We now ask for the treasurer's report. And Suzanne Van Orman is not here, I see. Therefore, I am not aware of any monies being spent, so we're rolling in the dough. Probably close to, what, about $1,000? So we're rolling at about $900 or so. So I think we're ready to buy somebody a new Mac computer. I don't know. Anyway. All right, let's move on to the committee reports. Do we have any committee reports? I thought somebody had one to talk about. Okay, no committee reports. Moving on. Miss Spellings, it's your turn.
Or Sue.
Oh, sorry.
I think it's kind of silly that I am going first, but I got overruled by Sue. So if some of you don't know me, my name is Donna Bray Miller, and I'm the executive director at Mennonite Village. It's really nice to be out here and see you all. It's really nice to see faces because it gets kind of lonely being in our kennel. I told my husband I sometimes feel like a dog going to the kennel every day, and we go into our offices and put on our muzzle, and but it is what it is. And I just want to thank the leadership team, the 5 of them that are here as part of the leaders of Mennonite Village. This has been an incredibly hard 18 months. And a year ago, I would have thought we would be here saying we're out of this and everything is great. But actually, our challenges are greater today than they were a year ago. So I just wanted to give you all a heads up, and this isn't to instill any fear, but I think you're all aware of the vaccine mandate that Mennonite Village is facing as of October the 18th. We will be able to provide accommodations for religious and medical exemptions, but there will most likely be some staff who, for whatever reason, choose to not be vaccinated. And if that happens and they haven't applied for any kind of an exemption so we can offer an accommodation, they won't be able to be employed at Mennonite Village. And that's not my decision. That's coming from both the federal government as well as the state of Oregon. So I've asked all of the department directors to really look at the staff that we have and the staff that we anticipate having, and to sort of come up with, I guess, what we would call an emergency plan. Meaning, if we do lose 20 or 30% of our workforce, what are we going to do? Because we have contractual obligations and we have regulatory obligations. So again, I don't want you to leave this meeting thinking, oh my goodness, the sky is falling, Mennonite Village is in big trouble. That's not it at all. But I do anticipate a couple of changes, and I don't have all of the specifics to give you today, so I hate not being able to answer direct questions. But like, for example, when we are running really short of dining staff, it doesn't seem responsible to use dining hours to continue to make specialty coffee drinks for the staff. And that doesn't mean that I don't value the staff, because without the staff, we don't have much going on. But when we have residents in the care areas that have to have trays delivered and food served to them, we have a responsibility to meet our regulatory and our contractual obligations first. So I just want you to know that if there are any changes, the residents that will be impacted by those changes will be notified, but I assure you that anything that's in your contract, we will continue to figure out a way, the best that we can, to make it happen. But some of the niceties, like the specialty coffees I just listed, you can anticipate that changing. More to come on that. This is a hard season, and Ray, I really appreciate what you shared, because feelings and emotions are so high right now. I've received some pretty scathing emails and messages from family members who are angry that Mennonite Village has staff that are getting COVID. They're upset that they can't visit their mom or their dad in a care area, and I get all of that. I wish it was an easy thing that we could just wave our wand and it would all go away. But I just hope that we all, staff included, we can continue to be gracious to each other and recognize we all have different opinions. This is, like I said, this has been a really hard 18 months, but I just commend the staff. You know, Jennifer, for example, we were running short on staff that could clean the wellness center, and Sue put out kind of an SOS, would somebody be willing to help? And Jennifer was one of the staff that stepped up and said, I'll do that. I'll help clean the fitness center so the residents can still go and participate. So those kinds of things that are happening to me just exemplify what our mission is about, and is part of what makes Mennonite Village a special place. So, on that note,
First spelling.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. I shocked her. I just want to say, this is off script, but I just want to say what a privilege it is to serve you guys with this team as well. I think there's no place like this. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. I have the village census, which is that we have 10 village homes currently in the refurbishing process. All but 2 are secured by a memo of intent for new residents. One of the remaining 2 is on hold for a decision tomorrow. There are 8 additional homes scheduled to be returned to us in the next 90 days. We have a workload. Those guys have a workload. We have 85 persons on our waiting list who have paid $500 for the privilege of waiting for those homes. We have 6 current vacant apartments at Ashwood 2. 1 additional unit is currently being rented by MSNW on a temporary basis. Any questions on the census portion? Okay, I also have just a brief blurb on the events. Marketing team will be representing the village at the Albany Chambers Business Extravaganza on Wednesday. The extravaganza highlights local businesses and hopes to focus on businesses that have job openings this year. This is a free event at the Lynn County Fairgrounds and takes place from noon to 6 this Wednesday, the 15th. And then Thursday night, we are hosting the barbershop group Social Insecurity right here at the Pavilion. Concert begins at 6. Bring your own lawn chair and enjoy some peach cobbler. Any questions on any of that? Okay.
Greg's fighting.
What? Oh,
You're next.
All right. Sorry, I had to take a moment to widen out the camera angle for me. So I was asked to talk a little bit about photo releases. This came up a little while ago and thought it'd be a good reminder. So when you may or may not remember, when you moved into the village, there was a stack of papers that you signed. And you probably just were waiting to get into your house, so you just kind of signed them. One of those was a photo release form. Some chose not to fill it out at the time, which is fine, but some did. And or most did, most of you did. And on the photo release form, just to remind you what it's about, so it says on there that you give permission for Mennonite Village to use my image, photo, video in its training, fundraising, recruitment, marketing, social media, public efforts, or for health records, identification, emergency problems. I understand my image, photo, or video may appear in more than one place, various local and national newspapers, magazines, brochures, billboards, direct mail campaigns, social media, websites, videos, posters, etc. So it's pretty much an open thing. And it was brought to my attention when we had some postings on our social media. A person had said, no, wait a minute, my photo was on Facebook, and I don't want it on Facebook. And so we showed the photo release form. And so, well, you know, I signed that 5 years ago. It's hard to remember. And so we thought it'd be a really good reminder. And so maybe a couple of points about that. If you or anybody in your area would like to revisit that, let us know, and we can either pull that, we've got it in your files, and maybe have that re-looked at. So nowadays, with the way especially social media is gone, it's something that 5 years ago we may not have thought really that much about it, but now it's things have changed a little bit. So it's just something to kind of remind folks. But I wanted to let you know too, as far as how we kind of operate within marketing on our photos. So when we have larger events like what's going to happen on Thursday night. You'll see me around with my camera. If for some reason you say, I don't want my picture taken or whatever, just come tell me, and I'll make sure to avoid you. But on our social media platforms, we will make sure to use photos just of people and not put galleries like we have in the past, but people that we know we have a release from. When there's large pictures, to be honest with you, it's kind of hard to go through if there's 30 people in there and figure out, okay, how many of these 30 do we have photos? So we're going to kind of manage that a little bit. But also, if you know how social media works, which most of you do, we never tag anybody's name on any of the photos that we put on our social media. And what that means is that nobody can go in and Google your name and your photo from Mennonite Village would pop up. So we make sure to not Google or not tag or identify unless we have your permission. Like we had one that had a really nice prize squash. And they had their name, and it actually was on another social media platform. We put it on there. So we make sure to do that. The other thing that I wanted you to know is that on our marketing brochures, things that we do that we hand out to people, we tend to use stock photos. We don't use photos from our events or people here. So the types of things that we hand out to the public is usually stock photos. We don't use those photos. So that's just kind of something for you to know if that makes folks in your area feel a little bit better. We're not out there handing out people's photos like that. So anyway, so that is the update on any photo release forms. Just so that you know that they're there. Just get in contact with us if there's anything you would like to know or do with that. Okay? All right. Who is next?
Jim Curry.
Thanks, Greg.
Oh, you're welcome.
I always get the pleasure of talking about COVID. So I just wanted to remind everybody that over at Ashwood Court, the residents who live there and their guests and the staff that work there should be the only people going inside that building right now. And there could be exceptions to that, of course, but as a general rule of thumb, the residents, their guests, their families, and the staff that work there should be the only ones going inside. And a reminder that the masks are required inside all of our buildings on campus and for most public outdoor settings except where physical distancing is not possible, just a reminder. And then the big thing, like Donna alluded to.
Represented by this chair.
Vaccinations are going to be mandatory for all staff beginning October 18th. All unvaccinated staff are going to be or should be in the conversation with our HR department regarding their personal situations. It's a very personal situation, and it's conversations, questions, dialogue that only HR can have with staff. So as a direct supervisor and administrator of an area, I cannot have those conversations with my staff. They can ask me questions, they can open up dialogue, but I cannot ask them questions, and there are certain things I cannot even talk to them about because it's very legal. So HR is having all of those conversations. I wanted to share a little bit. We sent out last Friday about the additional dose vaccine and the booster dose. So I looked at the CDC before I came here, and per that website, it says the additional dose of vaccine is recommended for certain, I'll butcher this word, immunocompromised individuals. The CDC does not recommend additional doses or booster shots for any other population at this time. And my words are, I think that you should probably speak with your medical provider about that third shot, additional dose, booster shot, that sort of a thing. And right now, I am not having any conversations thus far about having a clinic for those shots at Mennonite Village. It's so far out there, really. I mean, not really, but really, it's so far out there and there's not a lot of information going on right now about it. But if the time comes and the situation arises to where we can have a clinic of some sort, most definitely we'll have those conversations and we'll try to make that happen to our best abilities like we did with the other clinic. I learned something reading on OHA that there's a very big difference between a third dose and a booster dose. And this went out, like I said, last Friday, but I just wanted to share this. A third dose is for those who are moderately to severely immunocompromised and may not have built adequate protective immunity with their first series of vaccines. Only the moderately to severely immunocompromised people who receive the Moderna or Pfizer vaccine are recommended for the third dose at this time. Now the booster dose, and I know we've talked about, there's been a lot of conversation about a booster. The booster dose is for people whose immunity may be fading after they complete their first vaccination series. And here's something that I did not know. There is currently no COVID-19 vaccine authorized as a booster. So right now, there's no COVID-19 vaccine authorized as a booster. So I didn't know that, and I often too didn't know the difference between the two terminologies. I thought it was just words interchangeable. So I thought I'd share that. Paul, I have a question for you. Do you have an update on styrofoam recycling?
No. If you hadn't heard or hadn't read it yet, I go around about noon on Friday and pick up the hard styrofoam, take it to the thrift store who does recycle it, keeps it out of the landfill. That was my hope to do, and I'm happy to do it. I might be missing a Friday now and then, but maybe someone else, I'll arrange to have it done. If it's outside with your recycle, I will pick it up. And please don't put it inside a box or a bag where it's not visible. Happy to do it.
Mr. Glazer.
Thank you, Paul. I have one more thing. And you know it's not like me to talk a lot on a microphone.
And I have a question too.
Yeah.
You said Ashwood is closed. Outsiders. Is it okay to visit someone in their apartment from their outside door?
Sure. Yeah.
Repeat your question.
It is absolutely fine to visit residents of Ashwood Court using their outside door, go visit inside their apartment. Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to put out a reminder, and somebody will probably already say this before the end of the meeting, but tomorrow at 11 o'clock, we're going to have a grand event at the garden, right, Rufus? Big event. Just a reminder, at the garden, we're having, Rufus, Ty, and Bob, the way off of the big pumpkin, the Pumpkinator. So just a reminder, if you have nothing else to do, you're looking forward to it, I'm looking forward to it, that thing has got to be gigantic. So just a reminder to be at the gardens at 11 for that fun event.
All right, so I'm Craig Glasser, for those of you that don't know me. And I told Marv before this meeting that he's gonna, make funny faces at me, and he just did, so. All right, I have got a couple updates, a couple questions, concerns, updates on facility stuff. First one I've got is the RV lot. So we had a couple, we've had a couple break-ins to the RV lot. One was back, I believe, in May, if I'm not mistaken. It could have been earlier or later. My mind doesn't, I'm not jogging my memory on that one. We had about, I want to say, 5 to 6 different catalytic converters cut out of the motorhomes, out of the RV lot, and they were vandalized. So we notified residents. I believe at that time we had a lot of different just security issues that, you know, we felt that was kind of odd, kind of all at the same time. So we put out a notice in the update. This is kind of when the window tapping was happening and some of that kind of stuff. You remember, kind of around the same time frame. So we put an update on that. We had another event. RV lot was broken into once again. The chain link fence was cut, and they got in and they took 2 more additional catalytic converters out of these motorhomes. And so we sent a notification to all the RV owners just to let everybody know that this is what happened. Please check your RVs for damage. There was only 2 this time. But we didn't follow up with a village update or anything like that, just because we thought it was more localized, kind of a one-off thing. We really haven't had any security issues to speak of besides that, so I did not put something into the update, which I recognize now that probably wasn't the best idea. I should have followed up with something and an update just to say, hey, all residents, this is what's been going on. So I apologize for that. And in the future, I will be putting, as soon as I get an update on an RV lot or kind of a one-off thing, I'll try my best to get updates so that, through Constant Contact or the Village Times update, whatever comes out first, we will make sure that we get that out to you guys. So I apologize for missing that, and that's something we want to do better. We're not trying to hide anything. We don't want to, obviously I don't want to cause, confusion and just, kind of panic, but you guys need to be informed, and that's the most important thing. So you guys know what's going on in the village. So I have received, obviously in talking to residents about the RV lot, the ones that just got broken into this last month. There's, obviously security concerns. We have actually had 2 RV meetings this year. And we've talked about security and just, what does it mean to park in an RV lot? Security measures that we do have. We have lighting, we have fencing. Yes, our security could be more, but for the time being, we've kind of decided that this is, the fees that we charge to park there. This is kind of where we're going to leave it, but we're always going to be looking to explore what else can we do. Some of the comments was, at first was cameras, but I think that RV group all decided that cameras just they're not the way to do it. I mean, that's when you can tell that, there's a black shadowy figure that's making off with a catalytic converter and you really can't do anything about it. So we all agreed that, trying to prevent these break-ins would be best. So there are things that we are looking into with this last break-in. Obviously, I was hoping that this was kind of a one-time thing, but that's not the case. So we have looked at little things to, just deter and prevent. But as of right now, I don't have any plans to put a massive security system in, a new fence or anything like that, like an alarm system, for instance. So that's stuff that we're continuing to look at, but we will, as of right now, there's not any plans. So I wanted just to let you guys know kind of where we're at with that and what has been talked about through that. So, is there any questions on that before I go on down my list?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like the microphone. I'm just going to repeat some of the things that you said, but so that I don't have to pick and choose sentences through the comment, I'm just going to speak right to some of the things you've already addressed. Okay. The RV storage area has had 2 incidents this year of theft of multiple catalytic converters. Have any deterrents been put in place? You answer that. No. We recently had a new couple move into our area. They have an RV which they're storing in the RV area. Yet they were not notified of the two recent deaths of catalytic converters. We appreciate the email notification of the first break-in in February, but we didn't see any notification of the second break-in in August. We have neighbors who have RVs and they didn't know anything about it, so maybe your list needs to be updated. We believe that a notification for each criminal event is paramount to the safety of all residents and their property throughout the village. You kind of also already poo-pooed this, but I'm going to point out some details. Motion lights, which when they're activated, might be more readily noticed than continuous lighting by residents who live nearby and staff. And I know that trail cameras have been proposed before, but trail cameras with apps that notify a cell phone when a picture is taken seem to be a viable low-cost option. This information could be linked to a night shift employee carrying a village cell phone who could quickly access the picture on that phone and call either 911 or the security company who the village has contracted to patrol the property. This might involve erecting 2 4x4 posts at most, and the cost of each camera is a few $100 plus a small monthly fee for the use of the app needed. And or at least posting of signs on the RV storage fence along the west side, like the one at the intersection of 47th and Becker Circle that states, quote, premises under video surveillance, along with functioning or non-functioning fake cameras like a lot of people have. And this is a letter from a resident in another area of the village, and this ended up with me because of the statement that I had just produced before, and I know you know of it, but for everyone else's benefit. Obviously, there is a criminal element in our vicinity that views our RV lot as a sustained yield source of catalytic converters. I believe we must take action as quickly as possible to increase the security of our lot. Some of our RV owners have taken individual actions to set up physical barriers to protect their units, and others are considering various electronic alarm systems for their individual units. If carried out, these could cause chaos, as they might be accidentally triggered by other residents seeking to service or work on an RV park in an adjacent slot. It appears to me that the only logical way to proceed is to strengthen the security of the RV lot as a whole. The existing perimeter fence has already been breached in at least 2 locations and overall is in rather poor condition. There are several companies that offer full chain link fences that contain internally built-in burglar alarm systems as opposed to one as an add-on system. I suggest an entirely new fence of this type would be the best way to go. Before making a final decision on any type of system, however, I would suggest that the Albany Police Department, the Lynn County Sheriff's Office, and the Oregon State Police be contacted to see if, based on their experience, they might recommend a specific make and model of burglar alarm fence or any other type of alarm system that they may feel would work best for our situation. And to me, the next paragraph, the ending paragraph, is the most important thing. I have no idea how the village intends to fund any security improvements on our RV lot. Monthly fees on privately owned lots around town range from $100 to $150 per month. Given our current RV lot fee of $35 monthly, I believe a significant increase in our fee in order to provide good technologically sound security would generally be well received. And I wanted to get that out because that would make this improvement in the long term not a financial hit for the village. Because if these people have to seek another option, it's going to cost them a lot more money. So if you gave them the security, I don't see how any of them would say no. That's my point. Thanks.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, a lot of those items, we did discuss in our two RV meetings. Now, those were prior to this last break-in, so we have not reconvened since that, and as of now, there's no plans to, but that could, maybe we need to. The hard part here is, you know, we want to offer something secure. That's probably the most important. We don't want to be broken into. We don't want these things to happen. But there's a balance there. Yeah, fees and all those kinds of things. We've talked about, you know, cameras and fake cameras. There are some legal things that we have to, you know, if you're going to post a sign that says, you know, security cameras, you know, in use, and if you don't have one, that can be a legal problem. So there are some just things that we have to navigate for that. So that's our challenge. So I appreciate those comments, and yes, we're looking at ways that immediately, you know, small things that we can change, motion lights, little alarms. But honestly, I don't want alarms going off in the middle of the night because I'm not here. You guys are. But I don't want a nuisance alarm. And that's the biggest thing. So it's a balance, and I recognize that. So hopefully more to be worked on and done there. So any other comments, questions on that one before I move on? All right. Okay, I've gotten some questions about speeding, speed bumps and stop signs. So I guess we've gotten some reports, and I don't know how often this is happening. I don't have a lot of details, but I'm getting reports that 47th has, you know, we have some issues with, you know, people traveling pretty fast on that road. And so what can we do about it? So a couple different options were speed bumps. Speed bumps is not something I'm real wild about. I don't know if the rest of you are. One thing that I can think of off the top of my head for speed bumps is our trash collection would greatly be impacted. We tow those, you know, dumpsters around, and I don't like to have garbage high centered on a speed bump. So that probably isn't a real viable option, but you know, it's not out of my mind for sure. Other items that have been, you know, talked about is lowering the speed limits. 15 miles an hour is what our current speed limit is right now. I don't have any plans to change that. Most residential is 25. I live on a residential road and it's 25. I'm not saying that we should up the speed limit to 25. I like 15. I've talked to all of my staff in facilities about, you know, speeds, following stop signs, you know, just driving, their responsibility as driving the equipment here at Mennonite Village, what they should and shouldn't do. So I've talked to my staff, I've talked to other departments, dining, and there was one other I was thinking of, but I'm missing it right now. So I've talked to other departments and talked through that with, you know, don't speed, stop at the stop signs, that's why they're there. So I don't know if this is more of a, and I'd love to know if this is more visitors, contractors, residents maybe, that are speeding. And if this, you know, to figure out if we're gonna, a suggestion was to stick a stop sign along 47th. We have, I think at each four-way intersection we have stop signs at each four-way intersection, except the one, the first Becker Circle and 47th crossing right there. We have three ways from Heron Loop on, or Goldfinch on, we have three-way that we could stick stop signs in. I don't know if that's, you know, needed. I don't know if that's going to accomplish what we, you know, need to have happen. I will admit, I've seen, you know, contractors, staff, you know, this stretch right here, they hit that stop sign, they get going, and then they do have to stop, but that doesn't keep them from going, you know, over the speed limit. So I'm open to, you know, ideas. I don't know. I'd like to get accurate data, I guess. If this is a one-off thing, I just want to make sure that we're not sticking stop signs in and it's kind of a nuisance, or, you know, lowering a speed limit, you know, just for a couple complaints of speeding. If there are, you know, I would say this, if there's staff residents that, you know, have been speeding and I notice it, I do follow them and chat with them. And if you do it in a nice way, you know, don't be mean, obviously, but if you do it in a nice way, a respectful way, just say, it appeared that you were going faster than 15. I don't think is out of the question. And I think if we do that, that can accomplish a lot. I'm trying to do that with my staff, make sure my staff are not going over the speed limit, stopping at stop signs and that. But that's something, you know, if you have a specific, you know, incident or something like that, I'd like to know. So you area reps, you know, if your residents are saying this is happening on a daily basis, hour by hour, I definitely want to know because I want to problem solve that for sure. So if there's anything there, just, you know, feel free to contact me and we can kind of go from there. What else did I have? I think that's it for that. Any questions on that one? Yes, Penny?
I was actually going to bring this up as a couple comments at the end of the session. And on Area 13, we're right over here at this intersection. And I checked with all my rep area people before I came today. And as you know, I have dogs and I'm on that intersection minimum 3 times a day, usually 5 times a day. And everything that you're saying about speeding is true. This is based on me living here 3 years, 5 times a day, there are residents that are speeding. But it's not only the speeding, it's not stopping at the stop signs. And I've had a couple close encounters, including this weekend, at golf cart. They don't see pedestrians that are behind those bushes on both sides of the street there, and so they're coming down here, and if they don't see anybody in the intersection, what I'm guessing is happening is their eyes just go beyond and step out. And so they want to meet it. We all walk there, and it happens to everybody. Bushes behind Greg's house, and the woman on this corner. If we could trim those bushes back to like 4 feet, that was that. And they wanted me to talk to you about the not stopping and the speeding. So I can document it, go down if you want, but it's real.
No, I appreciate that. I know Jeff is actually our ground supervisor. He is looking at a lot of the different intersections and looking at some of those bushes already. He's done a lot of work at the front entrance. I don't know if any of you have been out front there, but trying to get rid of some of that just overgrown shrubbery and that vegetation, just so people can approach and, you know, have a clean view of the road. So, no, I appreciate that, Penny.
You know, if you put a speed bump right at the stop sign where people are supposed to stop anyway, shouldn't annoy you. I mean, even a small one right out the stop sign, not in the middle of the street. You're supposed to stop anyway there.
Yeah, I've updated staff. We have put some stuff in the village updates about for reminders for residents. It's been a constant battle, and it will continue to be a constant battle. I definitely want to problem solve, but I also don't want to penalize the people that are following the rules if it's not a gross safety issue. If it's a gross safety issue and we're going to have an accident, then I want to address it for sure. So, any other questions on that? Okay. I had another. I'll go on to the third one, fourth one I had, tree and bush trimming. So I mentioned Jeff he's actively looking at some of the intersections. I know one of the intersections on 47th and I believe Jasmine has been mentioned that there's a tree and a bush that basically line up perfect so that you can't see if you're looking to the left. And so trying to figure out if there's traffic, you gotta kind of nudge your nose out, and if someone's coming, you could get clipped. So yes, Jeff is going to look at that. Like I said, we talked, and he's already looking at some of these intersections to try to better those so that we have clear lines of sight. So all right, the other one that I have is guest parking. So question that I had was, we just had the garage sales a couple couple weeks ago, months ago maybe, and lots of traffic on both sides of the street, parked on both sides of the street. You guys all have family, you have friends that come over, and there's lots of traffic, you know, parked on the sides of the roads. One of the questions that was asked is, you know, can we do something to where, you know, people park on one side of the road versus the other, or so that it's not both, so we have clear path. That's something that's, you know, yeah, I know I totally get it. Garage sale, when I was working maintenance, I kind of dreaded garage sale day because trying to drive a van through those, through all the, you know, cars and all that, it's tough. I know the bus really doesn't like it. That's a challenge. So there's definitely instances when that happens.
A lot of it's been the construction.
Construction.
You know, when they're working on a sixplex, there'll be
Yes.
trucks, both sides, and then pickups from the workers. And I think that
Right.
is, over off of Davidson, it's been all year.
Yeah,
In a
so
couple areas.
Margaret's comment is all the construction that we do, and I think especially the siding contractors.
Yeah,
There's a lot of them. There's a lot of vehicles, trailers, you know, all that kind of stuff. I know on 53rd we have a lot of activity happening over there, and yes, it gets congested. And that's something I think I have mentioned to the contractors. Now sometimes there's not enough room, but we try to stick contractors on one side of the road so they're not clogging up both sides and you can barely squeeze down the middle. So they've been pretty good at that, I believe, to do that. The question, you know, one of the questions is, can we do that for, you know, all campus? Any visitor parking, construction, you know, visitors, whatever, can they park on one side of the road? I'm not sure how to do this without doing, you know, a big sign project and all that. I personally don't like that. I don't like that idea, but I'm open to it. You know, just putting signs throughout saying, you know, park here, paint stripes on our sidewalk. It's not my favorite thing. I like the natural, less signs and less paint on the roads is, you know, something that I think is better, but I also recognize that if it's something that's happening and a problem, constant, I want to fix it also. So there's lots of directions that we can go there. I'm not sure what's best. So I would say if you have family or friends that come and visit, you have a big gathering or a larger gathering with lots of vehicles, I would just ask you to, you know, with your visitors, please ask them to park to one side if possible. I'm not ready to do a full signage saying, hey, everybody park on the right. Well, I was going to say everybody just park on the right hand side. But obviously that's, you know, I think that was a joke. Anyway, but that's, you know, I'm not ready to do that, but if that's what needs to happen, I guess we can, but that's something that we can talk about. Yeah, do you have a question?
think about cars, we have to think about pedestrians, because that's a huge issue. And the reality is for us in this village, that it is not in our best interest to speed. We've got people on the street, we've got, you know, a small community with houses everywhere. It's just in our best interest to follow the limit.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Any other thoughts there, comments? Yes.
I just wanted to tell you, and I've already told some of the crew, how nice 47th Street looks coming in, that they've done a
Yeah.
planning and stuff.
Great, yes. No, I know Jeff and the crew, all the guys, they've just been working hard, trying to make sure our entrances are looking nice, making sure they look good for visitors and you guys, just to make sure that we have good approaches and all that, so. All right, last one that I have on the list, I got one more. So signage, there was a comment about our walking paths. Our walking paths, basically in our handbook, it says that, you know, no biking, roller skating, something else I'm sure. Skateboarding, yes. None, that's not supposed to happen on our walking paths around the village. There is a sign, I know, down at the RV lot, and I want to say there was another one, and it might have got taken down, but I know there was one once upon a time ago that was on one of our walkways. But that sign is at the entrance of where Lakeside Center is, kind of the artery of that walking path. And so the question was, can we put more up? I guess there's been reports of kids, and they probably don't even know what they're doing, you know, skateboarding, biking, whatever. We don't have it posted on there, so they probably don't know that they're not supposed to. If we should put more signs up on the walking paths to just make sure, you know, that doesn't happen. Once again, you know, if this is something, you know, if it's grandkids, I don't know if this is grandkids, I don't know if this is, you know, visitors, you know, across the way of Columbus, they're coming with their kids and walking on our nice walking paths, I'm not sure. You know, I'm okay with signs. My thought of signs is it works for about 2 to 3 months, and then they kind of blend into the landscape. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we shouldn't have them. I was looking at our entrances, and you know, I hadn't really noticed, but when you start looking at our signs, it's like, oh my goodness, how many signs do we have? It's easy to just pop up a sign, it makes us feel better, but sometimes it doesn't always solve the problem. So I'm, you know, if it's something that, I guess I'm one of those that if the data shows that this is a really big problem, I want to do something about it. If the sign's the way to go about it, absolutely, let's put signs up. But if there's a couple one-off things, I'm not as eager to do that, but you know, it really just depends on what that looks like. So, yes.
One of the issues is the cement path in the garden. It's wide enough for a vehicle, but it's assumed that it's a walking path and that vehicle shouldn't be on that path. But there isn't anything that clearly states that. So there is confusion about that path.
Yeah, you're saying down by the gardens, that walking path and
Yeah.
driveway are kind of right next to each other.
Well, it's wide enough for vehicles, there's no doubt about it. It's just not a narrow path, it's wide enough for vehicles. So there is confusion about, is that really for vehicles, or is that just for walking? Or is it being used by both?
Sure. Yeah, I think me and Sue are going through our village handbook update, and we actually kind of put that walking path specifically should not be driven upon. We've had some instances where that has been, a car has been trying to drive on that. That's not what that's meant for. It's for a walking path. So obviously there's some confusion there. And maybe signs are the best way to do that. This is a walking path and no vehicles, you know, skateboards or anything like that should be on this path. It's for walking
Or just
only.
make a line, no vehicles.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well that's what I have there. Any other questions about signage?
Except golf carts.
Yes, golf club, yeah, can't give those. One more thing, Mel. And this has to do with just the conversation that Donna kind of started. So I know some of you, I want to say that Village Housekeeping serves about 100 different residents on campus, and they are trying super hard to make sure that we keep up with all of our appointments. I know in the last month, 6 weeks, we've had to cancel some appointments, and that's directly due to just shortage of staff. And it's hard because we want to serve you guys, we want to do that, and the gals, you know, they want to be out there doing their job and being out there. And there's been some times where it's just like we just don't have the physical staff to be able to accomplish all of our appointments. So I appreciate your guys' just patience with us as we work through this. Staffing is hard right now. Being able to hire people is, I think I've gotten about 2 applications in the last month, 6 weeks, and none of those, you know, I never got callbacks on those. So it's an interesting time for staffing, and so we're trying to work through that, trying to get a plan together. And those of you that do have housekeeping, you know, we're hoping to get some, you know, that plan figured out and then let you guys know what that plan is and kind of go from there. But more to come on that. But I just want to thank you for being patient with our staff and there, you know, we are trying, but it's tough right now to try to make sure that we're getting everything done and we're short kind of all across. It's not just village housekeeping, it's everywhere. And so I wanted to at least give you guys an update on that. So, appreciate it.
Thanks, Craig. The next item on the agenda is the upcoming nominations. I'll talk about that in just a little bit. As you can see, Jim Thigpen is not here. It's because Jim Thigpen has resigned all volunteer activities in the village. So, with the vice president position being open with Jim's resignation, the executive board, per the bylaws that was approved earlier this year, the executive board elected Ray Hiltz to fill in as vice president until January, where the new elected vice president will take charge or fill that position. So now I'm going to hand it over to Ray to talk about the nominating committee.
I think you need to get approval from these people, even though, no, I guess we don't, you made the decision. Okay. We are in need of potential officers. Nominating committee is met, and there's a couple of recommendations. And so anyway, if any of you would like to be president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and area reps, you can let me know by November 1, and we'll put you on the list. And vice president is very easy. The only one obligation that you have is when the men's group meets, when we do, then that's your responsibility to get speakers. And that part is very easy because there is a lady that can help set up speakers. So let me know by November 1.
Let me correct one thing that Ray said about nominations. Area reps, that happens next month. Area reps get elected. I don't want to say re-elected. Area reps get elected in October, so there's new ones coming in and etc. But so in your areas, I know some may not want to have a meeting, but every area needs to have an election for their area rep next month. Once that election is done, get the results over to Jennifer, because we're going to hold a training session for the new area reps before they step into the position in January. Okay.
Mel,
Yes.
so does the current area rep been called that meeting?
Yes, the current area rep is the one that has that runs the elections. And then whoever gets elected, that information needs to be given to Jennifer so we can schedule a training session. So, the next item on the agenda is new business, of which there's virtually none, but I'm just simply going to say that the Villagers Video Productions team is working on an emergency preparedness program for the month of October. We have interviewed 3 people. We're looking to interview more people that are experts in their areas of emergency preparations. And those videos will be put on 981/3 starting October. At this point in time, we're going to open it up to the area reps, questions, comments, and bending of your spleens, as it were. So, who wants to start it off? Area reps. You're not an area rep. Yes, I am. Oh, are you?
Area 19 and 20, our garage, I want to comment that we think the maintenance has been doing a great job. Our garage door broke, and anyway, within 15 minutes, someone was over, and we couldn't get the garage door open. However, we looked up, and there was a spring that was broken. So within a short time, two other people. They got the garage door up, and I was able to get the car up. So they did a great job on that. And Area 19 mentioned when we had our meeting last week that they also have done a great job, and also the grounds crew has been doing a good job. And if you guys notice that the leaves are starting to fall, so it looks like they're going to have some more work to do. All right, Regina?
Thank you. For those who don't know me, I'm Regina Millard, and I'm just sitting in for Barbara Howdy for areas 25 and 26 today. And I was asked to raise one issue, and it does relate, which I think people are really very understanding of, to the level of staffing that we have. But the issue that was raised is, what is our new monthly fee going to be next year in light of what people are seeing as reduced services? And again, I think people are just looking for hopefully not a significant increase. And I believe that just what needs to be done, as we do with so many things, is just make transparent everything that is happening and what the fees are based on.
Okay, we'll get the closest one here first.
Thanks. Well, I want to give kudos to the grounds crew too, because they've moved some of that debris pile at the end of Heron Loop out by the freeway. That's huge. We occasionally smell that clear down to our house. So we really appreciate that. And I think they finished up today trimming the trees on Heron Loop as well. And we really appreciate that. Part of the reason that we moved into the village was for security. We believe it would offer, but however, recent events have changed that belief. In the almost 3 years we've lived here, we recall a break-in through an independent living person's window, theft of items from independent living patio, theft from the RV storage area, and trespassers knocking on windows of independent living units on the east side of the village in the middle of the night. Another point of concern is homeless camps. During the 36-hour window that police have to give homeless encampment trespassers, before those trespassers are required to vacate village property, residents should be notified of the situation. During a recent meeting with Chuck Perino of the Albany Fire Department, the Village Emergency Preparedness Committee was told that during last summer's wildfires, looters were present in the remote city of Lyons. Unfortunately, even in our village, yesterday's safety mindset is no longer adequate. Anytime there is chaos, civil unrest, or the impact of a natural disaster, there are people who are ready and willing to take advantage of that situation. The perception that the village residents are old and perceived to have less ability to resist criminal activity increases our percentage of being targeted by those with criminal intent. Mr. Perino was also asked, how can we strengthen our security as village residents in the event of a natural disaster? He responded by saying that was not his area of expertise, but he suggested having better communication. And that is my suggestion in response to all these facts. Better communication. I suggest that the village adopts a policy of notifying all village residents via email and Station 981 as soon as possible and no longer than one workday after they have been notified of a safety concern or that a crime has been committed on village property. And finally, I suggest creating a security committee whose main focus is communication and education, comprised of both village administration and residents. It's it's really important, and I know you folks know that, but we really need to know as soon as possible when something's happened. And that just hasn't been the case. So we would really appreciate it if we residents could be a part of that solution, and maybe we can better communicate, which can only make things better and safer.
Good.
Area 13 folks want to ask me to pass on to administration. Thank you for everything you're doing to keep the whole campus safe from COVID, meaning all the areas, including Independent, and providing services as we're able, if they really understand how hard you're working. They really want to tell you that. So, thank you. And my other question is for Craig. Would you talk specifically about if that nighttime security thing that you're hiring is still going on? And what I'm curious about, or if I should say, are they still coming at night? What I'm curious about is, I'm out almost every night between 11:15 and 11:30 when I have my foster dogs. And I've been noticing that they come in 47th, they just drive down 47th, turn around, and drive out. And the first night, he was out faster than it took me to walk from Irvine up to Bedford. And I'm like, wow, that was fast. So the next 3 nights I started noticing he's literally at that particular round, only on the campus less than 4 minutes. Is that what they're asked to do? And they just drive in, drive down, and then they're gone. And so I was kind of wondering, is that part of a package, or is that the one thing they do every night? He doesn't stop anywhere. I'm never asked why I'm at 11:30 at night. I think I just look suspicious, but what is the package that they're doing for us now? The security guard we used to have drove up and down every single street. I saw him every night, up and down every street, going slow, stopping at intersections when it was the person that we thought, that was our employee. And so I was thinking, if I was a burglar, and this guy came every night at 11:15, I'm a resident, and I got that figured out in 4 nights. But the drill was.
Yeah, so we have Valley Merchant Police, hired them to do 2 drive-arounds through the village, and these are done totally random. So sometimes they'll come in, and yeah, they might only go down 47th, and other times they might focus on different areas. I know that they do, yes, we've hired them to do 2 rounds, and not do the same exact thing every single night. Now, whether they're doing that, there again, that's something that, if I get reports of, they're not doing this or that, then obviously I need to give them a phone call and make sure that we're doing, certain things. But that's essentially what we have. The night watchman, we have not, night watchman has been unstable, to say the least, as far as staffing. So we have not turned that back over to our employees that are here on the knock shift to be able to do those rounds. I think one of my night watchmen, I don't remember. He has been doing a round a night if he has time. But with staffing and all that, we're trying to get things clean, COVID, all that kind of stuff. There's limited time. So that's why Valley Merchant Police has been hired and then doing that. So
How many minutes specifically are you paying them to be on the premise?
I don't have a minute. I don't have a minute thing that I'm doing. They are doing 2 drive-arounds per night. Yeah, I would expect that to be more, but I want to say, I'm not trying to defend them, but I do believe they might be going around Columbus and they could be coming in there. I don't know. I can clarify that. That's the info that I can get. Okay. Okay, we have thank you for your comment about the fees. The questions I've been getting from my residents already
about the fees. So many services have been cut or minimized. A lot of those are not based on the fees we pay per month, but overall, some of the quality of life activities that folks were looking forward to, we haven't been able to do, and we understand why, but if we have to pay more money for less services, that's a concern for residents or friends. I make sure that about tomorrow, I was asked to begin tomorrow at 11 o'clock. They're going to have some mini pumpkin muffins and some apple cider. We'll do one more wage estimate for the pumpkin and announce that way. We do have a $25 gift certificate for workers the closest to that weight, so be sure you show up tomorrow and wear orange. Not Oregon State color, just orange for the pumpkin.
I don't understand why they want orange when that bloody pumpkin is green. Okay. Well, I'll be right with you. It's been a great return from the summer vacation, and I'm glad you're all putting up with us for this long. We do not have an approved area or an approved resident requesting to speak today, so we will forego that.
Oh, you're gonna let me speak?
Well, you're
Wow.
the treasurer.
I felt good because I do have a treasurer's report. We have 1,200, pardon?
Put your mask on.
It's in the car.
That don't use
Okay.
the microphone, I'm the microphone.
Tell me what you want to say. Okay, the treasurer's report is we have grand total of $1,088.09 and a $200 deposit. So we're looking at about $1,288.09. Woohoo! We're gonna have a Christmas party. Is that it? Okay, two quick items. The Villagers Video Productions team is looking to put together another Christmas special this year, so we want your ideas, and more importantly, we want your participation with the